For decades, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has been a Republican stronghold, devout, disciplined, and deeply conservative. But in 2024, something shifted. In Arizona and Utah, Mormon women started voting a little differently, guided not by party, but by conscience. It wasn't loud or dramatic. It was quiet, faithful, and deeply American. This is the story of how obedience, once the church's defining virtue, became its quiet rebellion. Faith, order, and the Mormon ideal. To understand the rebellion, you have to have a bit of understanding of the foundation. Mormonism, or the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or LDS, was founded in 1830 by Joseph Smith, who said he was guided by divine revelation to translate the Book of Mormon. The church teaches continuing revelation, that God still speaks through living prophets, and a divinely structured priesthood that is reserved for men. Members are taught to follow leaders, emphasize family, avoid alcohol, tobacco, and coffee, as well as prepare for self-reliance. That obedience to order and authority built one of the most cohesive communities in America. Utah has the nation's highest marriage rate and lowest violent crime rate. Sociologists often call it cultural Mormonism, a way of life that shapes even non-practicing residents. Basically, if you're in Utah, the vibe is Mormon. Politically, Latter-day Saints became a reliable Republican bloc after the 1970s when the church opposed the Equal Rights Amendment and same-sex marriage. In 2012, Mormon Mitt Romney won 78% of LDS voters nationally. So when Donald Trump entered politics, brash and boastful and bloody irreverent, his rise didn't just test loyalty, it tested theology. The perfect voters. For decades, Mormon women were the Republican Party's moral backbone. They're civic-minded, family-oriented, and devout. In 2024, exit polls found about 64% of LDS voters backed Trump and 32% supported Harris, according to Deseret News. That is still red, but a lot softer than before. In 2020, Trump carried roughly 72% of the LDS vote. In Arizona, where Mormons make up about 4% of the electorate, 3 in 4 still went Republican. But the 25% Democratic showing was the highest it's been for decades. As one KJZZ analysis put it, character and morality issues shifted Mormon voters away from Trump. Small percentage changes like that matter in swing states like Arizona and Nevada, where elections are decided by tens of thousands of votes or less. The Trump test. Trump's presidency forced a moral reckoning inside a faith built on restraint and decorum. As religious scholar Patrick Mason told The Guardian, Mormon culture is extremely decorous. Trump's style is an affront to that sensibility. John Giles went further, surprising many with an endorsement for Kamala. His lifestyle is so apparent to us. Yes, he's a Republican, but he's not like us in any other way. Trump still dominated among LDS men, but his support among LDS women fell by 8 points between 2020 and 2024. For many women, the issue wasn't exactly policy, it was propriety. Mesa resident Hillary Webster told the Salt Lake Tribune, "My religion helps to guide my moral compass. I now support Harris." That very quiet defection captures something bigger. The LDS electorate isn't turning blue overnight. Not at all. It's splintering across moral lines. The double standard. Inside LDS theology, obedience is kind of central. Members promise to sustain prophets and apostles and follow counsel as divine will. But women have long been the moral stewards, running the Relief Society, teaching the youth, holding these families together and upholding Mormon values in the home. So when political leaders embodied behavior those same women were told to reject, just like vulgarity, infidelity, cruelty, many allegations, it created moral dissonance. That tension helped give rise to Mormon Women for Ethical Government, a nonpartisan faith-based organization founded back in 2017. Their statement of principles reads, "Good government is ethical government, rooted in integrity, transparency, and respect for the rule of law." One founder told LDS Daily, "Our goal is to teach women of faith to act from principle, not partisanship. It's obedience reinterpreted, not submission to power, but submission to conscience. Reinterpreting obedience. In early Mormon scripture, obedience was never meant to erase agency. Doctrine and Covenants 58:26-28 teaches that believers should be anxiously engaged in a good cause and do many things of their own free will. But over generations, cultural obedience, loyalty to male authority and Republican identity often overshadowed spiritual obedience, loyalty to truth and to compassion. The 2024 campaign reawakened that tension. MWEG's election night statement declared, "We reject the false choice between faith and public service. Our discipleship requires both." It marked a shift from follow the prophet to follow your conscience, culture as community. What makes the Mormon vote so distinct is that it's not just religious, it's also cultural. Utah operates like what one sociologist called a theocracy without a tyrant. Even non-members absorb its rhythms, family focus and modesty and self-discipline and them crazy swig drinks that they get. They do look yum though. That cultural Mormonism extends beyond just Utah into Idaho, Nevada, and Arizona. In those towns, ward membership doubles as social identity. Voting isn't only civic duty, it's also community belonging. What comes next? Overall, Mormons make up just about 2% of US voters, but in swing states, they punch way above their weight. About 52% of Utah, 10% of Nevada, and 4% of Arizona. Now, Democrats did notice. The Harris campaign funded faith-based outreach in Mesa, emphasizing integrity and economic stability rather than social issues. It didn't flip the state. Not at all. It didn't do that, but it did narrow the gap. Political strategist Mike Madrid told The Guardian, "Mormons are one of the last moral voting blocs in America. They care about behavior. If Democrats can meet them on integrity, not ideology, there's room." For both parties, though, the message is very clear. Character still counts. And Mormon women, of all people, may prove it. Because rebellion, it doesn't always look like a big revolution. Sometimes it's a pause, it's a withheld vote, it's a changed heart, it's a quiet choice at the ballot box that they don't tell their husbands about. They're not rejecting their religion, they're reminding it and the country what conviction really looks like. Basically, if you're gross and weird and touching on women, Mormons are probably going to be like, hey, that's weird. Honestly, most people would be, yeah, that's weird, don't do that, right? If you learned something new today, or you're just as impressed that the Mormon rebellion somehow involves zero caffeine and everyone's being really polite about it, then hit subscribe, because we do this 5 days a week, digging into the stories behind the headlines and the ones that show how power, faith, politics, how it all really works, and also how the billionaires are already kind of controlling our lives. Where? If you like this video, check out a very similar one I did on why white women keep voting for Trump. It's less about religion than you'd think. Bye.